7 o'clock, Your Worship.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'll bring this regular council meeting to order on Monday, February the 7th at 7 p.m. and to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Stahelis. And the next order of business, please.
Yes, we'll move on to number 2, introduction of late items. Do you have any late items, Your Worship? Thank you. Could I have approval of the agenda then, please?
Moved by Piper, second by Councillor Vidal. Call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Anybody? No. All in favour? Thank you. Next order, please.
Yes, we'll move on to number 4, adoption of council minutes. We have the regular council meeting minutes of January 17, 2022 here for adoption.
By Councillor Palmer, second by Councillor Vidal. Any errors or omissions? Call the question. All in favour? Everybody in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. Order, please.
Thank you. And we also have the committee of the whole meeting minutes of January 27 and 28, 2022 here for adoption.
Moved by Councillor Piper, second by Councillor Vidal. Any errors or omissions? Call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Anybody? No. Nobody opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next order of business.
Yes, Your Worship. We'll move on to number 5. Any business arising from the minutes?
Any business from councillors arising from the minutes? Being none, we'll move on, please.
Thank you. We'll move on. We do not have any items on the consent agenda, nor do we have delegations or petitions. So we'll move on to number 8, correspondence. We have the Lower Mainland Local Government Association 2022 Conference and Annual General Meeting regarding resolutions, requests for submissions here for receipt, Your Worship.
And this here for receipt. We have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Piper, second by Councillor Vidal. For the question, all in favour? Opposed? Anybody? No. Next order of business, please.
Here we'll move on to number 9. Any business arising from the correspondence?
Any business from councillors arising from the correspondence? Being none, we shall move on, please.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 10, reports of councillors, committees, committee of the whole, and commissions.
Councillor Hooper.
Yes, good evening. On the 18th of January, I took part in a webinar held by the BCCRN on the incredible role of families and friendly care and friends and caregivers. On the 18th and 26th of January, I took part in the webinar with training by the Terramac Institute. On the 19th, 25th of January and the 1st and 4th of February, I attended Zoom meetings and training with the CNIB. On the 20th of January, I attended the Welding Foundation Programme celebrations up in Hope. On the 21st of January, I attended a Zoom meeting with Fraser Health. 26th of January and 2nd of February, I took part in a webinar of the Alzheimer's Society of BC on engaging people living with dementia and decision making. And on the 27th and 28th of January, I attended the Committee of the Wholes in the Memorial Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We have Councillor Palmer.
Councillor, can you use your microphone, please?
Sorry, I believe I had a Fraser Valley Regional Library meeting after our last council meeting, and I attended the 2-day Committee of the Whole meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Vidal. Piper, beg your pardon.
Thank you, Worship. I've got an exciting bundle of info here. So on January 18th, I attended the Lettsmont Community to Community Forum Working Group meeting, which was online. On January 26th, I attended the Harrison Tourism Society Board of Directors meeting. And one item that was discussed was how good the summer was for hotel stays, as were both September and October. But with the extreme weather events, in November and December. Those are going to result in lower numbers than was originally expected, unfortunately. Another item, and this is super exciting, Tourism Harrison secured funding through the second round of the 2021 Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program's Destination Development Stream in the amount of $1 million to build a new visitor center and Sasquatch Museum in our community. So I just want to extend my congrats to that hard work on that grant app. And I understand that the board members are going to attend a future council meeting. So I hope that they share specific details about that work and the project, as well as other updates. On January 27th and the 28th, I attended the Committee of the Whole meetings. On February 2nd, I attended Mountain Institution Citizen Advisory Committee meetings as well. And in closing, I do want to mention under the heading of the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce, all of their hard work and grant work has gone live now with the Love Local, Shop Local, and Celebrate Your Community is running from, it started on January 21st and will end on February 13th. And there are hundreds of dollars in prizes available from local businesses with several ways to enter. So instead of me running through the list, I think it's best if everybody takes a look at their new project website. It's shopsasquatch.ca. And by supporting local, we can drive a thriving local economy. And one very interesting piece of data that has been shared on their website is for every $100 spent at a BC independent business, $63 goes back into the BC economy, compared to $14 when buying from a multinational corporation. So let's do our part and shop local and support local. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor. Before I hand over to Councillor Vital, just for from staff's direction, that just to that the alternate for the library should be Councillor Piper. Is that correct now for future?
Yes, Your Worship, that's correct. And I do apologize for the mistake in the agenda. It will be corrected in future agendas.
Thank you very much. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Your Worship. On January 20th, I attended the Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities, and one item that came up during that meeting of some significance, and I did want to bring it up this evening, is that TELUS has implemented a new program which provides high-speed internet and free cell phones to seniors over the age of 60 who are on guaranteed income supplement for a very modest cost of $9.99 a month. There is more information and the application is available on the TELUS website. Also on January 20th, I attended the Lower Mainland Local Government Association Executive Board meeting. And also on January 27th and 28th, I attended the Council Committee of the Whole meetings. And on February 4th, I attended Lower Mainland Local Government Association Subcommittee meeting. And this was in regards to the May 4th to 6th conference planning. Planning as of now is for a virtual conference to be held in Whistler. And the planning committee will continue along that path, but of course will pivot to a virtual conference if needed. And that's my report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next order of business, please.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 11, and that's reports from the mayor.
Thank you. I have a few bits and pieces to read out this evening. That one can stay with that. First of all, that the that the OCP survey is now going to be running until February the 28th on getintoitharrison.ca. That's the OCP survey running until February the 28th on the getintoharrison.ca. That's first order there. On the didn't say what date. Oh, February the 3rd. Minister Osborne called a special meeting of the mayors in our area, Fraser Valley, and all the way up to Vancouver. This was the second meeting of the day, and this one was at 11, and it was an hour and a half. And the mayor asked, as we enter the new year and the final stretch of this local government term, what are the top 1 or 2 priorities you set out to accomplish as we work to ensure a strong foundation is in place to set the next council or board up for success? Our 2 subjects, priorities, was the emergency flood and storm water management. We are currently awaiting, the village is focused on installing, upgrading infrastructure to protect people, property, and the environment from elevated level of flood hazards in our community. 1, we are currently awaiting for a final waterfront flood assessment report funded through ENBC, which has so far identified that Harrison Lake Dike needs to be raised by 1 meter. The report would also address the need to elevate and armor our sewage treatment plant access road along the western side of Harrison Lake. We're also submitting an application for a major stormwater collection and treatment system on Hot Springs Road, a major arterial road through the Investing in Canada Green Infrastructure and Environment Quality. There were the 2 that presented, and the minister was very pleased. And as she mentioned, she had previously visited Harrison when I took her on a tour, and she does understand the dike situation. There were many calls with most of the mayors were on there from White Rock to Abbotsford, and some of them were concerned with the overdose crisis, affordable housing, transit, and infrastructure, and the ongoing pandemic and what it's costing in people's health in this day and age. So it's they were their issues. Of course, Hope was to do with flood control and Kent. So that was the meeting with the Minister Osborne. Thanked her very much for continuing with these monthly meetings, which are very helpful. That's that one. The Order of British Columbia 2022 call for nominations. If there's somebody out there in the community that you know deserving of this award, the deadline is Monday, April the 4th, and submissions received on this day will be considered in 2023. At the regional district board meeting of January the 27th, Rogers Communications Facility is looking at Othello South, Mount Hope, Forest Service Road, Electoral Area B, to put up installation of a new telecommunications facility. So that's what they're looking to do. The proposed telecommunications facility is projected to be constructed on Crown land, approximately 125 meters south of Highway 3 of Mount Hope Forest Service Road. The installation consists of a 40.0 meter high self-supporting structure with 7 panel antennas installed at the top. An equipment shelter and walk-in closet will also be contained within the proposed 30 meters by 30 meter lease area. And that's what's going to be happening, I hope. Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Green Infrastructure Environmental Quality Program, the electoral, the regional districts submitting a grant application, one for the very important third intake. This is for the North Coltis wastewater treatment plant project. And the other one was the request. They sent a letter forward to the province to increase the disaster financial assistance cap, which in BC stands at $300,000. And of course, in this day, where the price of housing has gone up tremendously, that is a very low amount of money. So they're asking for the government to increase that cap for those who put in for requests for a disaster financial assistance. And today on the news, I believe it's 228 million is going towards the terrible disaster of 1,100 farms, is it, I believe? And the flooding that went on, plus the other areas, of course, that will need assistance. We had a report from the EOC update. There were 9,500 hours of overtime, approximately $160,000. That hasn't come to an end yet. There were 25 to 35 staff on duty from November the 14th to December the 12th. Cost recovery is taking time. The Chilliwack River Valley was hit very bad by storm and several unstable homes. And staff fatigue set in, and of course that's why there's probably some delay in the remainder of their ongoing work, which they cover 122 different services in the regional district due to the amount of time spent over this past disaster. I thank the regional district and their staff for the outstanding work that they've done through this storm, this past storm. An unbelievable crew. On the last note, in regards to the floods there was a report in the Observer sometime way back regarding the evolution of fake news. Well, there have been recent comments on the social media regarding the Committee of the Whole of the 27th to 28th of January. Procedure Bylaw 1002, page 12, Committee of the Whole outlines the order of business and procedures. To suggest that this is carried out in secret or not allowed is totally untrue. This shows the business lack of knowledge on what goes on in the village by some. The office was closed, as stated, due to lack of staff. This is evident in many places, including our neighbors to the south, who closed at certain times through the pandemic over the past 2 years. The binder that used to be used for keeping the minutes of the minutes, so we could be handed around to the public. There used to be 2 copies. Of course, that was not used because of obviously hygienic situations. That's why that binder is not available. But the public has asked us to improve our websites, our contacts with the public at large, and we've done this with a new website and of course Zoom, which we're on tonight. And also through the website, they can get all the copies of the upcoming meetings as they wish. All meetings of council agendas are available online. Committee or other specials are held as they have been for many years with previous councils and mayors as they are now in the mornings. And this is not unusual. These are held by many communities, whether they're special meetings or committee of the wholes. Subjects that were on the agenda have in most cases been on a regular meeting and forwarded to staff to bring at a future committee of the whole, not as suggested that they were never brought up at council meetings. The Spring Park Washroom came from correspondence at the December 6th council meeting and was referred back to staff for costs. The parking master plan was presented at the December 6th council meeting with discussions to be in the new year. Off-leash dog park survey summary was presented to council dated September the 14th, 2021 for receipt. Fountains had been discussed by council previously with no action. After the latest heat dome in 2021, this was a good time for discussion and added to the financial statement. Same with the bus shelters as well. It is unfortunate this type of misinformation goes out there to the public, discrediting both the elected officials and in some places the staff. Officials have been duly elected by the residents, and cheap shots, I'm sure, will not stop. But it happens all the time. But sometimes it's important that the public receive the right information. You will not always find it on the social media. There used to be an ad many years ago on TV. I used to say, you may remember it, where is the beef? What I say, where is the proof? All projects discussed so far in the past 4 years have been no tax impact to our residents. And I will finish off with a fact sheet as I've read out about the terrible floods that just happened. Hope they never happen again. This is to do with our flood pump fact sheet. The new pump station was built to replace an aging, outdated pump that was in excess of 60 years old. Parts were becoming difficult or impossible to obtain, and reliability was an issue. The capacity also too low to remove water at a safe and sufficient rate during times of heavy extended rainfall. There were numerous times when additional pumps had to be rented at a considerable cost, and I used, if I remember correctly, $30,000 or even more, $30,000 or more, to prevent flooding in the village, and the old system had a very high fish mortality rate. The new flood pump system cost $1.92 million, was split 3 ways: federal, provincial, local governments. The rated capacity of the new versus the old, the new system is rated at 3 cubic meters per second for each unit. A 200-year flood capacity or 518,400 million liters per day in total. The old unit was rated at 0.227 cubic meters per second or 19,600,000 liters per day. The screw pump was selected for simplicity, durability, ease of maintenance, ability to handle debris, and less, this is the important one as well, 2.5 fish mortality rate. We in the village were extremely lucky, as were our neighbors to the south in Kent, who came to view our pump before they built their own pump, which is exactly the same, but much larger, dealing with the river. And we were all very fortunate that we didn't have to have evacuations, certain areas here. Yes, of course, there was low-lying areas with water. I've seen Spring Park before we had these terrible floods with water up to the tennis courts back in the 80s. It's nothing unusual. Low-lying waters areas will happen, but the main portion of the village, we had no major problems. I don't know of anybody that's come to the village or to inquire, maybe they have, for disaster funding. If they need it, it's there, as I mentioned at the last council meeting. So the residents of this community, I hope, I'm sure, that they're very confident that the work that's been carried out by previous and this council for the infrastructure and safety and health of our community is at the top of our list and always will be. It's unfortunate these things happen, but they're going to continue, as we all know. But at least there's some information I thought was important to the public at large in regards to the previous committee meetings. That's the end of my report. The next order of business, please.
Yes, we'll move on to number 12, reports from staff. We don't have any staff reports, so we'll go to number 13. And our first report here is from the financial officer regarding the 2022-2026 financial plan bylaw number 1174, 2022.
Financial officer?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the rest of council. Council reviewed the draft 2022 to 2026 financial plan at the Committee of the Whole on January 27th and made the following amendments. There was the inclusion of $45,000 in funding from the COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant in the 2022 budget year for 3 water bottle filling stations, and inclusion of expenditures for bus shelters for 2022, 23, and 24 at a cost of $14,000 for 1, $28,000 for 2, and $42,000 for 3, respectively. Pursuant to Section 165(1) of the Community Charter, Council must adopt annually a 5-year financial plan that sets out the objectives and policies of the municipality. Council must undertake a process of public consultation regarding the proposed financial plan before its adoption. Following first reading of the 2022 to 2026 financial plan bylaw 1174, the plan will be made available for public consultation at an open house tentatively scheduled for February 22nd, 2022 at 10 a.m. Staff will provide a summary of the public feedback regarding the 2022 to 2026 financial plan at the regular meeting of council on February 22nd, 2022. And financial plan bylaw number 1174 will be on the agenda for further consideration by council at that time. The public will have additional opportunity to provide comment during that meeting. Accordingly, the 2022 to 2026 financial plan bylaw number 1174 2022 is attached for council's consideration. And the recommendations are that the 2022-2026 financial plan bylaw number 1174-2022 be introduced and be given first reading, and that the 2022 to 2026 financial plan be forwarded for public consultation at an open house to be held on February 22nd, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a recommendation for first reading and going to the public consultation. Moved by Councillor Piper, seconded by Councillor Vidal. Any discussion from councillors? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? You're in favor, councillor? Yeah, we're giving a first reading and then it's going to the open house. Yes. Yeah, thank you. All in favor? Yes, motion passes. For business.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 14, new business. Is there any new business this evening?
Sorry, there is new business from Councillor Piper. Councillor Piper?
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been speaking with residents, as we all do, as elected officials, and one brilliant idea that I see fitting in exceptionally within our community is the idea of outdoor ping pong, or otherwise known as table tennis, for our residents and visitors to utilize. Through my research and in preparation for bringing this concept forward, I discovered that a number of Canadian municipalities, Windsor, Montreal, Toronto, and closer to home and most recently installed over on the island in Victoria. They have installed outdoor tennis tables in their public spaces. There appears to be some variation on the type of outdoor tables used, from concrete tables with spherical legs and other varieties made of metal, all of which appear to have metal nets and smooth playing surfaces. We know that outdoor infrastructure and furnishings need to be durable and withstand our Canadian climate and be low maintenance. Through my research, it is reported to be an inclusive activity for all individuals of all skills and abilities. It can be an all-season activity, evidenced by the photos I saw from communities back east. And I agree wholeheartedly that an investment into exercise activity that creates an environment of socialization, provides a physical activity choice, can draw to a public space, as I discovered in my research, and overall an opportunity for people to gather and enjoy together in an outdoor public environment. Since we have recently been speaking of adding washrooms and drinking fountains at Spring Park, perhaps this is a location that may be considered. However, I will leave that to the staff at this point. To end, I would like to make a motion. I move that staff provide a report on the available types, costing, equipment concepts, maintenance requirements, and proposed site or sites of outdoor table tennis or ping pong tables, and that the funding of the table or tables comes from other sources of revenue or revenue streams such as, but not inclusive to, community partnerships, donors, or gas tax, and that the tables not be funded through property taxes. And furthermore, the staff report be provided back to council for consideration before the start of summer 2022. Thank you.
And Council, we have a seconder for the motion. Second by Councilor Vital, discussion. Councilor Hooper?
Yeah, will these tables be a permanent fixture or a temporary? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, from my research, it looked like they were all in kind of different settings. Some had cement pads underneath them, which would lend well to accessibility. Some were on like a gravel or maybe a well-worn grass area. But they looked significant, especially the concrete ones. But I imagine perhaps the metal ones could be moved if not much more easily than the concrete ones, I believe. But I'm not the expert. I just, that's what I found in my research.
Yeah, because the problem I see with this is the same as with the picnic tables that we have already. People occupy them that aren't using them for what their purpose is. And that's going to put Spring Park isn't that big. And to start putting things in Spring Park on that, I think is too much. We've already got trouble with water ponding in Spring Park. And if these are going to be a permanent fixture, they're going to want maintenance. It's going to put an increased pressure on our staff when trimming grass around them and the rest of it. And to be quite honest, ping pong, if you want to do something, let's put a basketball court in for the kids. That is something that all the youth get into, is basketball. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Basketball at the cross box.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Piper. Thank you for bringing this forward. I'm just curious, during your research, were you able to come up with any sort of like design or whatever that would be inclusive to disabled? I'm under, I think we would need to look at a concrete slab of some kind if it was individuals who were in wheelchairs. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And that was part of the my thought behind what an incredibly inclusive piece of infrastructure that we could have in our community. And I tend to agree, but I'll leave that to the experts, that a solid surface may serve better for people with different levels of abilities. And it is one of those sports that is very popular. It's anybody can pick it up. And you don't need to be an expert, even though it is an Olympic event. People of all abilities can pick it up. So I am leaning towards that as well. I would prefer to see that we keep it inclusive for everybody in our community and visitors alike.
First time around, Councillor Palmer, do you have any comments?
Yes, I don't think it's a bad idea. I would like to see us develop Spring Park. It is our main park for residents. However, everything goes to the question whether it's canopies and washrooms. How much does it cost? Is it viable? And where's the money coming from? But in terms of asking the question for report, I think that's a good idea. Councillor Piper referred to a few places where they exist in Eastern Canada and on the island. Actually, you don't have to go very far. I don't have to go very far. There's a ping pong table in Mill Lake Park, 2 blocks from our Abbotsford house. And it is concrete and it's permanent and it's good 12 months of the year. I have never seen anybody use it for a purpose other than, I've never seen anybody use it improperly. I've got to also be honest, I've never seen anybody use it, but that doesn't mean that Abbotsford and Harrison are the same situation. There's a lot of activities in Mill Lake Park, from lawn bowling to so it's possible that it could be well used. So I think it's worthwhile exploring. And they are very durable. So I think it's like anything else, it comes down to cost. But I'm certainly, I'd like to see that park utilized. I mean, I wish we had another park further down. That would be option number one, a second park for people with children to be able to access where all the new residences are being built. And maybe that's something that we'll be able to look at. But in terms of making Spring Park more and more compatible with residential use, I think a ping pong table would do that. So I think it would be interesting to do some research and also find out usage rates in places to know that it'll have some use in terms of justifying the cost. So I'm supportive of Councillor Piper's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper.
Yes, will the council be supplying the bats like they do with the chess pieces, or the people to bring their own ping pong balls? And let's put it this way, I know we've got a bylaw stating how long you can be in the park of a night time, but if you've got that consistent banging and tapping, it's going to cause a problem. We know it does. Even a little dog yapping, people are on the hit. So this really needs a lot of thought. And to be quite honest, I can't see tourists coming here with their ping pong bats to play ping pong when you've got the beach down the front. Now, as for residents, I can't see it at all. I'm not supportive for this motion. Thank you.
If I can make some comments, I'm fully supportive of the motion. I'll see the photographs in front of me. I printed off. The residents of the community asked for a what do you call it? Pickleball court, and they got it. We put 2 in there, and it's well used. The equipment is never, to my knowledge, staff can confirm, been vandalized that I know of or been stolen. It's left in the box, which is left open. I mean, these are small things that can be discussed at a later date, bats or balls. I mean, you could start off with a supply. The same with our chessboard and pieces on the beach. They've never been vandalized or stolen, to my knowledge. We did replace the boxes they were in from what they originally were to the metal ones, which were obviously stronger and they last longer. But the locals keep asking for something more to do, and so do the tourists. Okay, Spring Park is maybe off the beach, but that can be promoted. I mean, myself personally, as soon as I saw this, I thought, well, the obvious place, because there's plenty of parking at the back of echo there would be it's behind the cross box. When that was, cross box was made smaller by the previous mayor and council of the day, then they left that bare piece of land that was all turned over. So we thought, well, we'll turn it into a grass it and put some seats here, maybe with the type of people we have in the community. We have a lot of Italians and that, and others that like a bocce, that, but it didn't take off, unfortunately. Unless they do play, I don't know. I don't sit there all day. But that's an ideal place. You've got seating, plenty of seating there to sit down. So if whether it's the disability or the older folks that come along to have a game, they can sit down and relax and wait for their turn to come, or they do for the tennis courts. Eventually, we'll have washrooms somewhere there, hopefully, all going well one day. Like Councillor Palmer said, it's a very well-used park. It's our main park as such, and I'm not referring to Rendell Park. To me, that's more of a regional beach type of park. It's a very nice facility, and that area at the back there, you got your parking, and you've got an ideal situation. You start with one, you may even have to put two at some point, but I think a concrete slab is the way to go. Obviously, it has to be like shown here, wide enough. People step backwards, step forward, sideways, or for the disability people with their chairs. So that to me is the way to go. And I mean, permanent concrete would last forever like that. So it's and the uses, I can't see. I mean, they have signage there. I think people will pay attention. And if somebody decides to have a picnic area, a picnic lunch age, you nicely ask them, please move. If this is for ping pong, ask them to move on. But I fully support it, and I think Councillor Hooper's got his hand up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just one last observation. We got ping pong tables here, and I've never ever seen them used since I've been in the village. So is it really that popular of a sport?
Yes, there was a group that played every Wednesday here. Prior to it played ping pong and badminton. And ping pong at one point was used by the social club. That was basically, they asked for it, and it was brought in for them as well. They've asked for it. They also asked for a dartboard, which was put up for them at one point, which they asked for. So they have been used. The original ones we donated that used to be here before we replaced these were donated to the school, I believe. But no, they have said they're not used as often as you would like, but it only needs somebody to set up after all this COVID situation is over, and maybe they can start up a weekly get together. They used to do it at the school for badminton. There were two clubs actually, one at the school, one here, every week. Hopefully, if we once things settle down, we can our manager of community services next year or the year after, whatever the case may be, can put something on to attract people to form their own little groups and maybe make more use of these things. It's always handy if there's an emergency or something. They're always handy to have around for people to entertain themselves. So first I've got Councillor Vidal, then Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting the motion, and further to your comments, Your Worship, on getting groups together to utilize any of the new amenities that we're looking at including. I often think that we have, such a wonderful group of volunteers within our village. And perhaps in the future, in order to bring our community together, groups such as those that utilize the tennis courts once a week could initiate or create an invitation for almost a village-wise competitions for table tennis or tennis, or that was a thought that just came to mind, and that's probably something in the future that some of our residents could look at undertaking. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Worship. Just to clarify, within the motion, when I mentioned equipment concepts, that's what I was hoping that staff would report back on, if we would provide the equipment, or if it would be like in a lockbox, or if you had to bring your own. So I'm hoping that they investigate that. I'm desperately trying to recall when I was doing my research what the cost of a paddle set was, and it was, compared to other sports, it was very, very reasonable. I want to say like $20-ish, I'll say. But yeah, very, very economical sport, I'd say. Thank you, Worship, and thank you for your support, Council.
I will donate the balls, the ping pong balls. Any further discussion on this motion? I'll call the question now. All in favor? Opposed? In favor? Thank you. Everybody in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Yes, Your Worship, we'll move on to number 15. That's questions from the public pertaining to the agenda items only. Perhaps if we could ask if there's any members of the public attending via Zoom.
We're just going to do that. Thank you. Any Zooms, please?
Any of our Zoom participants, if you could please use the raise hand function if you have a question, you will be called on. Looks like no questions, Your Honor.
Nobody on Zoom to ask questions this morning. Questions from the public. Good evening, sir. Red light should come on if it's operating. Yep.
Yes, I'd just like to speak in favor of Councilor Piper's motion for the table tennis courts. I think it's no different than playing pickleball or tennis, which, I do all of that. And we bring our own rackets. If you're going to play, you bring your own racket. So and I don't see it as, being a nuisance to the public. It's a lot less noisier than tennis balls being bounced around. So I just like to speak in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from the public pertaining to the agenda, please?
Good evening. John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. I'm a table tennis player. Played here for many years when we had a recreation commission. I think we still have a recreation commission bylaw, but nobody's been appointed in years, so it doesn't happen. The table tennis that I've played here and at my own resort and on beaches in Europe is generally in a beach setting, concrete table. They put up a metal net which can fold over, producing two legs where you can hang your own net if you want to be on the net system, and you bring your own balls and your own rackets. They're available at the dollar store for minimal price for somebody heading for the beach. And I'd suggest the right place for them is really out on the beach, much like we've provided the volleyball courts where the sand sculpture used to be over on the northwest corner. There's also lots of space alongside Memorial Hall. There's a big grass area here that would be perfect. So when it comes to alternate use for the tables, I don't see that as a bad thing. If you're having any kind of a reception on the beach and the table is not being used for table tennis, which of course takes priority, they make very useful tables for laying out a barbecue or a meal or whatever else is going on. So it can be a multi-purpose installation. But my real question is, why are we talking about table tennis tables and toilets in Spring Park and other issues when we don't actually have a parks master plan? We don't even have a Parks and Trails Committee in the village anymore. And our OCP calls for us to have a parks master plan for the village. You've even got it in the budget money set aside for a parks master plan. So I think that this process is becoming a little bit cart before the horse. If you're going to be spending money like 465,000, for instance, on toilets in Spring Park, you should only be doing that when you actually have done the planning. You know what your future plans are, where your facilities are going to be and what you need, and then you start to spend the money. So what's happening now is we're doing this ad hoc bits and pieces, bits of things being stuck in here and there without any plan. And our OCP says the village will conduct a proper planning process and come up with a parks master plan, and it hasn't been done. Maybe it's anticipated that it will be part of the new OCP, but it's not actually an OCP operation. It's a separate plan for parks and recreation, and it needs to be done. So my question is, why is council doing this ad hoc bits and pieces of park facilities and recreation facilities when we don't actually have a plan as to what we're doing? And that's just not good management. So I'd encourage you to rethink this and actually get on with doing a parks master plan, which is just as important as an OCP. So I would like to suggest that that should become a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A lot of these subjects, as you very well know, come up at a committee of the whole after they've been discussed at regular council meetings, but since new business has come on the agenda, providing that the councillor has a recommendation made out for what they anticipate to happen, that it's just council's wish at that time to either accept it or not accept it. Now, I will be corrected by the staff because this old brain of mine the old computer still keeps going, but I can recall that in 2008, that Craven Houston Powers did a Trails and Master Plan, but it was never, I don't think it was ever adopted, but that's just at the top of my head, something that, but anyway, that's something for another discussion. These areas that we're discussing washrooms came from a resident, a actual tennis player. I'm assuming talking to her fellow teammates and other people in Spring Park, that they considered it to be a good thing to have something more permanent than the porta potties, and that's why that's moving forward at the discussion stage at the moment. It's gone back to our staff, and same with Councillor Piper's recommendation. It's gone back to staff to come back with recommendations or pricing, how this can move forward and how we're going to pay for it. So there's times when certain subjects come before council, and we try to deal with them as quickly as possible, because the public at large tend at times to think, well, look, we've suggested this or we've suggested that and nothing's happening. So we're being very open-minded and moving forward with these things, and looking forward to a master plan. That's something, I don't know whether it's there or not. I just threw that at the staff. They've got enough on their plate at the moment. But that's something that could be maybe looked at. But we move forward as best we can to do the best things for health and safety. That's why we have healthy communities, and healthy communities is not just to do with your going to the doctor or making an appointment for a tooth or whatever the case, is to do with health, getting out to the fresh air, doing things. And people love to do things. I just spoke to my dentist last week. I'm coming to Harrison, bringing the kids. What's to do? I saw plenty to do for the kids in Harrison. You know, we've got the water parks, we got this, we got that, play stuff on the beaches, volleyball, the whole works. So plus walking. Harrison is a fresh air, walkable place. As Rick Hansen said, Leo is just perfect for disabled people. It's flat compared to a lot of other communities. So we're improving as we go along. Well, I'm not boasting. I'm just saying you folks who are listening on Zoom or out there or read the papers, you know what we're doing. Nothing's hidden. It's all for the benefit of the residents and tourists, for everybody concerned. So that being said, I will now call for I'll just ask questions from the public. No, you answered me 3 times. You went from ping pong tables to the Parks and Trails plan. No. Anyway, carry on, John. Ask me the other question. A question, please.
John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. I listened with great interest to the mayor's comments on social media. And what I'd like to ask is, and I've asked this question before and never got any satisfaction. You read from a fact sheet. And when a mayor reads from his prepared statement, my expectation is that that statement is available to the public. It hasn't been on previous occasions.
No, it's not
I'm gonna
about the
ask,
public.
Can I have a copy of the statement that
No,
you read
you
out?
cannot.
Well,
That copy is scribbled down by me. It's not typed out or written by the staff. I just scribble it down with notes I've picked out of the regional district and the other flood areas that I referred to. And if you want to read about the evolution of fake news, you can get
Well,
that. You can get that from the July 18th, 2019 Observer.
Oh,
That's
you're
all
just-
there for you to research and look for. Thank
okay.
you.
Well, can I then ask that your statement be reproduced verbatim in the minutes?
No,
for
we don't
clarification?
have verbatim minutes here.
So I can't have a copy of the statement that you read out, and it's not going to be in the minutes.
That's right.
Okay.
Anything from the regional district, you can look that up on their website. Or any other reports from staff, you can look that up on the website. Motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Piper. All in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Jerry, before you go. How the hell am I going to put this little thing?